Thank you so much for watching Landumc Goes There. Please subscribe and hit the like button and the bell notification button. Rio Bravo is a 1959 American Western film that was directed and produced by Howard Hawks. The film stars John Wayne, Dean Martin, Ricky Nelson, Angie Dickinson, Walter Brennan, and Ward Bond. The storyline goes that when gunslinger Joe Burdette, played by Claude Akins, kills a man in a saloon, Sheriff John T. Chance, played by John Wayne, arrests him with the aid of the town drunk, played by Dean Martin. Before long, Burdette's brother, Nathan, played by John Russell, comes around, indicating that he's prepared to bust his brother out of jail if necessary. Sheriff Chance decides to make a stand until reinforcements arrive, enlisting the help of Dude, the town drunk, and an old cripple named Stumpy, played by Walter Brennan, plus a baby-faced cowboy called Colorado Ryan, played by Ricky Nelson. This unlikely group gives him the help he needs. Exteriors for the film were shot at Old Tucson Studios, just outside of Tucson. Filming took place in the summer of 1958, and the movie's credits gave 1958 for the copyright, and the film was released in March of 1959. The movie is generally regarded as one of Howard Hawks' best, and is known for its long opening scene, which contains no dialogue. This is the last film where John Wayne wore the hat that he had worn since his breakthrough role of Stagecoach in 1939. And as often the case in his westerns, Wayne wore his Red River D belt buckle in the film. He also regarded this film as marking his transition into middle age. At 51, he was starting to get a little overweight, and he believed he was a little too old to play the romantic lead anymore. His last 4 movies since The Searchers from 1956 had been unsuccessful, and he felt that the only way to keep audiences coming to his movies was to revert back to playing John Wayne in every film. The director always wanted someone who could connect with teenagers to play Colorado. It's reported that his first choice was Elvis Presley, who was really enthusiastic about the opportunity. Unfortunately, Presley's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, wanted too much money and top billing. Neither Howard Hawks nor John Wayne would have any of that, so the search continued. Elvis ended up joining the U.S. Army in March of 1958, 2 months before filming began. Now, the truth be known, Howard Hawks didn't want to cast Ricky Nelson in this role. He considered him both too young and too lightweight, and he deliberately gave him the fewest possible number of lines for a third-billed star. But later on, he finally admitted that having Nelson's name attached to the film had probably added another $2 million to the film's box office performance. The movie has a really interesting preview trailer. In this trailer, Ricky Nelson finishes playing his guitar. Then he turns to the camera and talks about the exciting nature of this movie. After some clips are shown, they cut back to Nelson, who lists the cast members in the film. When he doesn't mention his own name, you hear the voice of Dean Martin say off camera, "What about Ricky Nelson?" John Wayne and Dean Martin were known for pulling tricks on people. And in May of 1958, just 1 week into the shooting, Ricky Nelson celebrated his 18th birthday. As a gift, these 2 famous stars gave him a 300-pound sack of steer manure, which they ended up throwing him into. They viewed this as somewhat of a rite of passage. Dean Martin's agent approached Howard Hawks so that he could be considered for the role of the drunken deputy Dude. The famed director decided to meet with Martin at 9:30 the very next morning. When Hawks learned that Martin had done a show in Vegas until midnight the night before, and that he then hired a plane to fly him to the meeting, he was so impressed that he simply sent Martin to get a costume from wardrobe, and he told him that he had the part. This was director Hawks' first movie in 4 years, which was really the longest hiatus of his career. It was during this period, while he was living in Europe, that he saw how popular Western television shows had become. And he realized that the audiences cared more about the characters than they did about the plots of the shows. This is where the idea for this movie started to form. Rather than to make a movie that centered around one main plot, he decided that he wanted to make a completely character-driven Western with several storylines running all through it. The studio bosses refused. They thought he was crazy, but they instantly changed their minds when he told them that he was casting John Wayne as the lead. This happens to be the 22nd time that John Wayne and Ward Bond worked together on a movie. Their longtime friendship ran really deep. Their relationship originally started just as a professional one, but they soon discovered that they had a lot in common. And it also extended to the classic filmmaker John Ford. He became a part of this trio, and they were constantly trying to do things to each other to get the very last laugh. Their friendship lasted some 30 years until Bond's death in 1960 as the result of a heart attack. Wayne really struggled with his death. He once wrote that he never stopped thinking about his close friend, even going as far as thinking about roles that would be perfect for him in screenplays that he read. Now, these two did a bunch of drinking when they weren't filming, and maybe even quite a bit while they were. On one particular night, Wayne was desperate for Bond to go out drinking with him, but Bond refused. He wanted to stay back at the hotel. As a way to motivate him, as he dozed off, John Wayne poured liquor on his chest and lit it on fire. That got him up and moving, and Ward Bond ultimately agreed to go out drinking with his friend, just with a little less chest hair. Go back and watch this famous Howard Hawks film. It's always a great watch. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll continue to chase the classics.